Hey, this is the Kaufman is Alive YouTube channel. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at an older comic book. I want to tell you thanks for clicking on the video, and please like and subscribe if you have a second. This is Punisher 2099 number 6. I picked this comic to review because, I'm not really sure what the first comic I ever bought was, but this is one of the first comic books I ever bought with my own money. And I remember exactly where I was when I bought it. I was 10 years old. My family was on vacation in 1993. So you can do the math and try to figure out how old I am. But we would always go to South Haven, Michigan for vacation over the summer. And we found a comic book store on the beach, on the boardwalk where there's a bunch of shops. There happened to find a comic book shop. So every year we'd go to South Haven, Michigan, and more than anything else, more than going to the beach or any of the restaurants or anything else that we would do, the one thing that I look forward to the most was going to this comic book shop and buying comic books. I had one in my own town, of course, but it was just always fun to find a new comic book shop, when you're out on vacation or anywhere and see what they've got. And for me, as a kid, in '93, they had, at the time, comics had all these, foil covers, and it was just a great time to be alive and collecting comic books. And I always loved the 2099 concept. It always excited me as a kid to read about things that would be happening over 100 years in the future. And it just always grabbed my imagination. All these Marvel characters set way in the future. And, it was kind of a template for things like Batman Beyond. That came a little bit later, too. But, the 2099 line, I always have a love and appreciation for that. This comic I picked out, I love the 2099 Punisher symbol where it's like a computerized skull. That gets me right off the bat. The logo is something that just draws me in. And this is a cool cover. It's Punisher grappling with this bad guy here. There's these lines going everywhere, red and yellow. It's super colorful. So as a kid, this was something that I was like, I'm going to buy this. This is something I'm definitely interested in. Techno Gladiators is the title of this book. So Tom Morgan is the penciler here. Jimmy Palmiotti is the inker. And the inks on this book specifically is one of my favorite parts about it. Jimmy Palmiotti, pretty famous artist in comics, done a lot of work in Marvel, and did some work in Image. The Pro, I believe, was one of his Image books back in the 90s. Daredevil. He's done all sorts of stuff. But this is pretty early in his career, if I'm not mistaken. And Tom Morgan, the penciler, he's kind of just like a fill-in artist, a jobber. But he got some lead work here on Punisher 2099, and he does a pretty good job. I can see maybe why he's not ever talked about too much. His style doesn't stand out too much. Talking about Tom Morgan, but it's serviceable. It's really good. He tells great stories here within the pages, and this whole comic is just one big fight between Punisher 2099, whose alter ego's name is Jake Gallows. He's not Frank Castle, but he looks a lot like Frank Castle. And he's fighting this guy named Multifractor, who I've never heard of before or since, but this comic is just a slobber knocker, to quote good old JR. It's just a fight back and forth. Punisher puts his arm through a wall here. That's really cool. He gets kicked off by this Multifractor guy and down onto the football field here, or grav ball as it's called in 2099. And this Multifractor guy is like a former grav ball player. So he's probably all pumped up on steroids, but he's got lots of athletic ability. And Punisher's lost all his guns, so all he can rely on right now is his suit and his martial arts ability. And what I was talking about with the inks, there's all this ink splatter to show blood. And it's all throughout this issue. He gets punched in the back of the head. There's even some in the back of his head. And as you know, that's something they just don't do in comics anymore. Are these ink splats, because they're done by real ink, is how it's put onto the actual paper there. And a lot of digital artists today just can't recreate it. So we get the guy behind the chair for this version of Punisher here, and his name's Matt. And Punisher's just telling him to stay out of the way. So, but he's gonna help Jake Gallows, Punisher here, by programming a data pack containing Multifractor's greatest sporting moments, the man at his peak. So this is supposed to somehow help Jake fight this guy. He does this weird move where he like slaps him with the top of his hand underneath his chin, and then trips him up, and he falls down, blasts his chin, which is like a move that Multifractor had apparently used in the league before. So then Punisher, jumps up into the air and with a double stomp lands on the back of Multifractor's neck. Then he gets him into an armbar, smashes his head into a wall. Over and over again. I mean, really violent for a Marvel comic. And he just keeps smashing his head into the wall, and he's just laid there into the wall. And the police come, finally, to stop the fight. But Multifractor gets back up, and he picks up Punisher and spins him around, throws him across the field. Picks him up again, smashes his elbow right into his face. I love this shot of the head, just multiple Punisher heads as he's getting knocked out. And his head hits the elbow, and there's ink splatter to show the blood, flying everywhere. Then he gets kicked in the stomach. And then 2 hooves to the face. Again, just really cool inking. And yeah, this guy, I didn't even realize it the first year or so that I read this book, but this guy's got hooves instead of regular feet, like horse hoof legs. And they keep fighting. He's got Punisher on the verge of death here. But Punisher uses his intelligence about Multifractor's weaknesses, uses a karate move, 2 fingers of death, right into the his power supply here, and it causes him to go crazy and lose all control. And you get a good shot of his weird legs here. The cops are like, "Shock! Look at that! He's killed Multifactor. Gonna have to take him out, officers." So shock is the stand-in for cussing in 2099. Whenever they say shock, and they say it all the time in 2099. So Punisher, he jumps into the stands. He's trying to get away from these cops. He's stolen Multifractor's gun. He's having a little shootout with the cops here. But he just can't do it. He says, even if it costs me my life, I can't kill a cop. But his guy in the chair, Matt, overrides his system on his costume here and shoots the arm up. And he pulls the trigger here. And this is another thing that's just, you don't see this in a lot of Marvel comics then or now or really hardly any time. But he just shoots these 3 cops right in the head, and they actually show the moment of impact here with the blood splatter and the inks again. Really awesome page. And this really, really cool drawing of Punisher's face. His eyes have the Punisher's skulls in it. There's the ink splatter everywhere. Some cross-hatching in the background. Just an awesome drawing. And Punisher blames the Fear Master for all of this. He's the one who's orchestrated Multifractor's attack and everything else. And then we get this the Fear Master guy. Is that his name? Fear Master. Yeah. And you know, as a kid, this was another thing that always really stuck out to me about this issue was the way they draw this guy's hand. He's only got 4 fingers. Now, in my last video, I was looking at the Scorch number 29, where on the cover, it's got She-Spawn, and she's actually got 6 fingers. And I was trying to figure out, was it AI art? Was it a mistake by the artist or the colorist? And here, this is no mistake. This is drawn like this on purpose. He's only got 4 fingers. You see it here again. And this guy uses his powers to heal people, bring them back from death. Probably trying to start a cult or something, take over the world. But him and his henchmen here are talking about Punisher and how Multifractors failed, obviously. And they don't know what he looks like. They can see some of the images of the fight using their computer technology in the future, but they can't see this guy's face. So it's covered up by the Punisher symbol. And I always loved this pinup shot. A Punisher just looking like a badass. And he's got the really cool Punisher symbol as a head. And I always thought that would be a cool character design to just go with for Punisher 2099. So, that's about it for this issue. I just wanted to share it because it's falling apart here, as you can see. But I've had this comic for over 30 years. It's one of my favorite comics to just go back and just look at, just because it's a really fun fight scene. I mean, there's really nothing to it other than it's just a big fight scene. It's got really cool art, and I love it. So let me know what you guys think, and thanks for clicking on the video. I'll see you on the next one.